let's talk about death, because you mentioned that you lost your mother. I also lost my mother when I was very young, and then shortly after I lost my father.
I just felt with the death of my mother I had to really be with it, and it's not so easy. You want to escape.
She killed him. I wanted to go and put her out of the misery, you know.
In a war, for example, Ukraine, Russia, or especially Palestine, Israel, how do you make sense? How do you not become a victim or perpetrator?
What angers you the most?
Just sheer dumbness. And people seem to be so impermeable to reason and logic. I've been a member of the Hare Krishna movement.
Yeah.
So there, I was a fanatic. I was in celibate. I was in celibacy for 6 years.
What moved you to go away from the Hare Krishna?
I completely remember the moment.
Let's talk about love.
If you want to love, you're crazy, and therefore you shouldn't. And if you don't want to love, you're sane. That's why you have to.
Because you lose yourself probably on a daily basis.
Every minute, yeah.
I have 10 questions for you. So
ready?
You're ready. Okay, then I will just shoot. So first question, what is your favorite place?
Under a tree.
What place makes you uncomfortable?
Dense traffic.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Intensity of human interaction, where there is passion and it's about something just.
What turns you off?
Intensity between people, when there is dumb, stupid, dynamic between them.
Probably we will have to touch that soon. Okay, what sound or noise do you love?
Breeze while waves are hitting the coast.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything chainsaw-like or engine very close and deep and disturbing. That's it.
What superpower would you like to have?
Make people not be so dumb. I don't need them to be super smart. Just this.
Okay. What do you fear losing the most?
Empathy.
What is beauty to you?
It is in the eye of the beholder. So it's how I feel in a moment in relation to the basic thing that's in front of my face.
Which can be.
Which can be whatever.
And finally, Nara, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I'll steal this from Dave Allen. He would say, he would warn me not to talk too loud, because there's a special compartment where Catholics live and they want to believe that they're the only ones there. So it would be a joke, basically.
A joke, yeah, that's nice if you're so relaxed when you go. Nice, these are the 10 questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
nice.
As I already sensed and we talked before we started, let me just ask you, how are you, Nara?
I'm a bit, I don't know, I have some anger bubbling in me.
I had to throw it out, you know, because I sensed that anger. What angers you the most these days?
Currently, I'm following what's going on in the world and what's going on in my immediate surroundings, and I'm noticing the reoccurring topic of just sheer dumbness. I don't know even how to explain it. And people seem to be so impermeable to reason and logic. I've been dealing with this for majority of my life, but still, for some reason right now it's just so into my face. I just get angry about it.
Yeah, tell me an example or specific thing, because it's, you know, then it's more tangible.
I can give you a very example. So I just wrote an essay let's talk about feminism, please.
Mm-hmm.
And in the essay, I go into this immense polarization around the topic of how do we touch the womanhood? How do we touch the freedom to express your gender identity, for example? Mm-hmm. Is this the right thing to do or not? Some people are very strongly on one side, some people are on the other side. What does it mean to be trans? How does this brain implants and transhumanism play into all of this? Do we become some androgynous beings? And then the discussion about it is so insane, it's hard to follow, and people take sides so quickly, and we get such a polarized, crazy yelling, hysteria happening in the public forum that it's, I would just like us to sit down, lay down our argument, whatever we believe, just be respectful to each other and treat each other like reasonable human beings instead of just yelling and screaming. And
yeah, it gets emotional very fast concerning these topics, and these topics are very edgy, as you also like to deal with edgy stuff. But yeah, so tell me more maybe about this article. What was your aim? What did you wanted to tackle actually?
I wanted to tackle the root problem of the so-called injustice in the current world, where men who used to be the leaders of society for many, many centuries, it was just a norm in most dominant societies that we inherit our current civilization from. So in most of those civilizations, there has been a lot of rubbing against different forces that are patriarchal, and that's how it was. First and Second World War brought more emancipation for the women. It was much more just the sheer fact that so many men were absent that brought women into the picture, where they had to take more responsibility in leading roles and also work for money and so on. So this created more female emancipation, and we went quite far ahead into acknowledging, oh my God, women are not less than men and all that. So the decades that followed the Second World War brought so much progress. We also went astray in some ways, but still, we did a lot. And now there's so much hysteria in the direction of, oh my God, we have to acknowledge the identities of new, whatever. If you follow the debate, you know that within trans and gender, there's a lot of new identities.
I know, that's the reason why I ask, because it's very edgy stuff, and if you follow, it's actually,
And my whole point is, let's acknowledge what happened with women. Let's see also what's not so good within it. And let's not just try to cut off the patriarchy, which is a big argument within the modern social justice arena, where you want to cut off the patriarchy.
Yeah, and then we hear about toxic masculinity and so on. Yeah.
So, and they attack it. In my image, I use the analogy of butcher's sickle or axe, where that's how you cut things away. And I think that it takes a scalpel, a medical tool, where you very finely cut off things. It's like a tumor. You don't cut a tumor away with an axe. And I think that the activism in the modern social arena is using the axe instead of scalpel. And so the whole argument I'm using is, I'm relying on is, let's sit down, let's identify where the tumor is, and let's cut it out. I'm completely for that.
And how do you do this? Actually, what was your at the end? What was your? Did you have any suggestion or any advice?
I have a suggestion. My suggestion is that let's look at let's use a measure that's universally good, and I use the measure of dignity.
Okay, dignity.
So if I'm acting to protect dignity of another person, that supports my dignity as well.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah, but explain a bit more.
Yeah. So when I'm acting with the dignity, I will automatically uplift your dignity.
And when you speak about dignity, you mean like integrity of the, what in your eyes?
Dignity means I protect your honor, I protect your identity, your integrity. I'm supporting your human rights. I'm supporting your right of expression of who you are, what you are, all those things. And so the main point is that it's mutual. When I act with dignity, I will uphold your dignity. And when I uphold your dignity, I will also uphold my dignity.
I get it completely, but how do you, manage the conversation when you express dignity to the other person, but the other may not do the same? What then?
I may invite the other person to think about, is this improving the dignity of both of us? Maybe they won't be responsive to it. Then at least I can work from within my own scope of affecting what I can affect. I cannot change other people. I gave up long time ago to try to change anybody. But at least I can keep it as my own measure. And when I observe what's happening in the public forum, I can see, which side is more working towards the dignity. And then even when I take sides, I will use this as a measure of who I'm supporting. So let's say I take a look at two, let's call them feminists.
Yeah,
two feminists.
Let's be concrete, because it's much more...
Exactly. We have two feminists who are standing on different sides. One feminist is saying, oh, I want to protect women, and I think that trans movement is harming the protection of women. Because if we allow, this is a common thing now in the public debate, if we allow a man who claims to be a woman into a woman's prison, then he may rape the women there, because he still has a penis. And then this woman who says this, who is a traditional, let's say classical feminist, will be attacked and called, that there is a term that's used a lot, TERF, trans exclusion or radical feminist. So when I see the attack, and when I see hysteria and protests where there's no reason, there's no, then this is not supporting the dignity of anybody, basically, in the picture, and it claims to support the dignity of the trans people. Quite often, it doesn't.
Actually, the conversation alone is not there.
Exactly.
So how could be the result, isn't it?
Exactly. When there's no dialogue, then how can there be a positive result in it? And for that, I need to be able to say I'm wrong. I need to be able to admit, I made a mistake. And quite often people who are very fired up about some ideal have difficulties to admit that they're wrong.
Isn't this a human nature, actually, that we don't want to be wrong?
Tell me about it.
Our personality strives to survive in this manner, isn't it? So it's hard to actually go beyond.
I've been a member of the Hare Krishna movement.
Yeah.
So there, I was a fanatic, and I have a diary of 7 years of being adherent to a very strict ideology, a doctrine of when you get up, what you eat, what you don't eat, what you can do, how you can think about things. I was in celibate. I was in celibacy for 6 years. So I know how it is to be in the head of that kind of person who is so idealistically driven that they have to prove their thing. They cannot admit themselves to be wrong, allow themselves to be wrong.
So my question is, what actually moved you?
Okay, what moved me, which I also write in my essay about, was a clash in the organization I worked for, where some people came very forcefully with a claim that gender is fluid, that the binary, which is traditional in our society of man and woman, it's something backwards thinking and so on. And it didn't bother me that they said it. It bothered me how they said it and how they drilled it in. This is how it is. This is the only way how you have to think, and we have to just adopt these new values. And I was like, oh, okay. Can you please explain it? Give me some resources so I can learn about it. And they didn't give me any resources. So then I went and looked on my own, and I found very interesting stuff. And then I read 12 books, and I read them from both sides of the argument, and that's what led me to have a rounded opinion about it. And I saw how this battle on that level is very religious, essentially, because you have an ideological point on one side, which then creates an ideological opposition on the other side, and you get an almost religious battle between the two positions, where we don't need that. We need a more rational conversation, and this doesn't happen. So that's where I'm frustrated, basically.
Yeah, it's funny that you explained in religious terms, because actually what I meant to ask you is what moved you to go away from the Hare Krishna? What was the, because I know your history a bit, and what I'm interested in, what was the moment, if you probably you can remember, isn't it?
I completely remember the moment.
Yeah.
I completely remember the moment. So there is one part of how you get in, and the way I got in was just being lost, looking for some meaning in life, and I found meaning in the very clearly explained religious doctrine, and that was for me super convincing. I went in, I found my life there, and then what took me out of it was meeting people who were critical of it, but who were not aggressive about it.
So the same thing which you are now describing.
Exactly.
How to approach somebody that has a different opinion, and what were those people, or how the exact situation? Can you remember?
Yeah, completely. I can remember it.
Yeah.
So I was studying Sanskrit in India, and my teacher's neighbor was one of the main critics of the religion I was part of. But he was also adherent to the religion.
Okay.
Which is a bit like, how can that be?
Some critic from the inside. So this is
well, he was
unusual.
criticizing the institutional part of the religion, and I went to him. I thought he was a demon. I thought he had back then. A critic was an enemy. That's how I thought. I went to him. We had a chat. He was super funny, super witty, and he gave me some books to read. He didn't give me. He just had them there, and I said, "Could I check it out?" Because he made me curious. And I read the books, and it made me think, wow, now I understand a little bit better what's going on in this religious environment I'm part of. And I started noticing unhealthy stuff, some dominance, in all of the authoritarian traditions you have that. In all the systems that are based on hierarchies, you have somebody on top starting to be pathologically whatever. And when I left the movement, just to make a step back, that was my crucial moment where I met this person. Tipping point, where I started thinking differently, critically, reading some books, which prior to that were forbidden.
Forbidden?
Of course.
Okay.
You're not supposed to read certain books when you're adhering to certain traditions. You don't know about it?
Tell me about that. and I can imagine, but tell me about your case, because it's interesting. You had experience.
Psychology, forbidden. Whatever is not aligned with the religious literature, you're not supposed to read that, because it will infect your mind. It will contaminate you, and you might get some sinful thoughts in your head, and you may fall off from the tradition because they will convince you will be weak. And the same thing is happening with this trans debate.
and we know if something is forbidden, it's actually more compelling.
It is compelling, but then you feel sinful, you feel guilty, and then because of social pressure, people normally draw back, and they don't go deeper into studying it, because they feel, oh my God, I'm losing my community, I'm losing my safety and all that. But I wanted to continue just with the point of, when I landed back in a society, a broader society from after leaving the Hare Krishna movement, I was shocked basically by how blindly people follow whatever other people are doing. There's very little conscious decision of how I behave.
Not just about in Hare Krishna, you mean? You mean in general?
Exactly, I mean in general. Yeah. But the trick was, in Hare Krishna, when I left, I could see that as something distinct from the rest of the society. But now when I was in the rest of the society, that was the majority. And now I'm part of this big bubble where it's hard to compare it to anything. I have to go far enough from it to see it. So I travel enough to have this ability to distance myself from the society. And I noticed, I mean, people wear shoes and nobody really knows why, but everybody else does it. If you ask a person why they wear shoes, they will give you an answer that's just made up on the spot in most cases. There's a lot of stuff we do in our everyday life where we don't think about it. I'll just give a very brief example which people can very easily understand. What is the name of the 9th month of the year? September. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
The 9th.
I have to always. I'm bad with. I'm dyslexic also. Always mix July and June. Yeah. Okay. But what was your point?
The 9th month is called the 7th month because September is the 7th.
Okay.
October is the 8th. Octa means 8th.
Yeah.
You're a musician, you know.
Yeah. But
November is the 9th. December is the 10th.
Okay.
You get it? And the rest of the months have different names for different reasons, but I just want to point these 4, which is something that we inherited from the past, and we use the name for the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. We call them 7, 8, 9, 10, because we just inherited something from our ancestors. And we never think about it, but it's just, if you go and study it, then you understand, there is a reason why they called it 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then when you go deeper into it, then you see, oh, bloody hell, we made why do we even, I mean, our calendar doesn't make any sense. But you just have to notice something that doesn't make sense and then go explore it and see, oh my God, maybe it would be better to start with March. Oh, maybe it would spring, maybe there's other things we could change in the calendar that would make it better serve us. And then you see, oh my God, religion is in the background again.
Yeah, I know about the naming of the months because of the Caesars and the Roman Empire
Julius
and so on. August and so on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is one example you could say. What was
an example. My point is, we just take over from our parents and grandparents and so on, whatever they teach us. We don't think about why. We just learn it by heart.
Yeah.
Even if you ask a person today, a general person, how do you prove that the Earth is round? They will just kind of make it up on the spot because they didn't really start. You know.
Yeah.
It's more complicated to think. You just take it for granted because somebody told you that. So you take it on belief essentially, not on exploring it. And most of us function in that kind of way. So when I left the Hare Krishna movement, I noticed that people function actually the same way. They're just as fanatical and just as fundamental in certain ways, but the only problem is that they are members of majority culture, and that makes it even more difficult to pierce through all these fundamental stupidities that we just keep repeating because they are part of our life. And when I started piercing through, for example, I took off my shoes because I figured out it makes much more sense to be barefoot, not to protect my foot from beautiful carpets and soft and smooth surfaces that I mostly interact with and nice grass and so on. But people look at me like I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the only one who went to study very deeply what a shoe is, how it is to be barefoot. I experimented with it for years. I'm the only one barefoot. Most people never studied it, never researched it. And then I'm a weirdo.
What about the other stuff that you are maybe ignorant and you don't know? For example, clothing and so on, you know? Why you wear certain clothes and so on. You know about hats. In the past, they wore hats and so on. Can you sense this in you?
Yeah. I had to learn this, that there is a limit where if I want to make a good impression on people and if I want to get my message across, I have to put on some clothes that people will, like if I come with a bone through my nose and with some kind of thing on my head, maybe people will respect me nowadays because that's a special value thing and I can just talk nonsense here. But to approach a general Westerner, it's much easier for me to resemble something they know instead of being like a homeless person.
So the shoes were the limit for you, actually, because you could go further, you know, with the clothing and so on, but you stopped somewhere, and consciously you stopped.
No, I wouldn't say it was a decision that I made like this. It was something that I grew into over years and understood that I look at myself on a camera or on a photo and I think it is somehow so disturbing standing in this situation when there is some convention of how you should be, how you are, just for the cultural interchange to work. And then I set myself a limit where I don't go further than that, because it would be too artificial for me. But I do adapt some of those values of the culture I'm part of, just to be able to interact with it more maturely, or more with better quality. Like I said, I can be ideologically strongly in a certain position and stand against, project this ideological position onto the other side and create a fight that's almost a religious battle. Or I can say, no, this is not so important. Let's talk about the deeper issues. And in order to avoid this ideological conflict where other people would maybe perceive me as some kind of weak, like I had situations where people saw me in some clothes and they said, "Oh, I thought you were some yogi." That's their projection. And I think, I thought you were going to say, "Okay, now let's do or something like that," just because I projected that
this is
with my
image.
That's why I understand that now. And I choose a certain image that doesn't come across as it comes across as neutral enough.
And where is the boundary for you? The shoes are off. This is the boundary.
I wouldn't put tie. Shoes are off just because it became such a strong part of my identity that if I would put shoes on, and people are like, "What? Nara, this is not like." I do put my shoes on sometimes, but it's not like. It became a part of my image, my identity, and I'm happy about it.
No, because I remember it was like one case, probably one guru or something, who had a beard, you know, and they always ask him probably what they ask you, the same, you know, why don't you wear shoes? They ask him, why do you have a beard? And he returned, no, the actual question is why you don't have it, because you have to do something about it. I just leave it, you know? So this was my, because probably you have to follow some norms, just as you said, to fit, to not be really outside the let's say bubble, cultural bubble. But where are the limits? How is the...
So if we go back like to the trans situation, if I'm with a trans person, I will not be offensive with I will be just very cultural and polite, and I have people who are from that conviction, or even trans, even doing the change of sexes and all that. I met
the genitalia.
And I won't disrespect them. I will try to be polite and understand their situation. I won't be ridiculing them. I wouldn't be cynical about it. You know, it's we come back to the dignity thing. And still, I think I can talk about the problems that come with this. I'm listening to detransitioners' stories, and I see that many young people were hurt by the forcefulness of activism connected with it. And they did some changes to their bodies that they later regretted. So here, I would use a precautionary principle where you don't incite or encourage it until you're really sure that it's not hurting anyone. And that's what I think we should talk about. And we should use precautionary measures not to hurt young people.
Let's talk about love, but specific love. 22. And you know where maybe I'm going, because this is the title of your book, and I didn't read it, but you showed me months ago. You showed me a draft, let's say, you know, and we had a talk, and I sensed like it's a very edgy stuff in there. So let's just tell me about it, because this connects to the previous topics. It's not just about love and shiny and flowery stuff, it's also edgy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a book that's set in the modern context, because that's the only context we can express love in today. It also projects a little bit into the future, where we do get some brain implants and we have some more trans people around us and all that, and we have to know how to behave within that field. So it also connects to let's call it the environmental crisis, and look as people looking for solutions with our anthropocentric perspective, where the book connects the artificial intelligence with the animal intelligence, let's say. And from this our acceptance of both, we learn how to behave as humans, and that's the foundation for us to be even able to love. So animals and artificial intelligence teach us how to be better humans, and we are open to learning from them. Because now we have people very strongly clinching to their ideological frameworks, convictions. So AI has to follow certain rules that I give it, from my perspective of what a human is. Quite often it's religious based in the background. Let's say it shouldn't doubt certain things. It shouldn't incite certain behaviors and so on. If it does that, then it's a bad AI. While in my book, the AI is completely free.
Whoa.
And it interacts with animals as well and learns from them, because they have their own intelligence and their own way of love, let's say.
Okay, and how does it integrate?
And there's a group within this book that learns from all this free AI animal interaction, and they learn about love in a very different way. Than I cannot give away the story. And I mean, I'm telling stuff that's really not in the book explicitly, but it's the background of the book. So within the book, there's a group of people who are experimenting with stuff, and the character called Nara, it's a first-person story, bumps into this group, and they're complete weirdos, of course. And as he interacts with them, he learns, oh my God, these people are actually much saner than anybody I ever met. And he learns about himself, and he fixes his relationship more or less with his partner through this. But it's unexpected. It's not what he wanted. It's not what he thought would happen in the end. Because when we think, I want to fix my relationship, we normally have an image. Oh, I want to have this. And what happens to him is completely different to what he expected. And she too. But all of a sudden it's smooth. There's no obstacles. There's nothing comes in the way. And they see, oh gosh, I don't want to love you anymore. But that's why I have to. And the other person feels, I want to love you, but that's why I can't. And their love works. That's why it's called Love 22. It's based on Catch 22, the book.
Do explain.
Okay, Catch 22 is a book that's written many years ago, and it includes a double bind, which we often find ourselves in, where we cannot escape it. And that's why it's used in the modern language as a double bind. So whatever you do, you cannot escape the situation.
Okay.
So in my book, I use it as the statement in my book is, if you want to love, you're crazy, and therefore you shouldn't. And if you don't want to love, you're sane. That's why you have to. But in any case, you end up without love, seemingly, but that's when you get love. It's maybe hard to follow, because
it is, because it's easy for me when it's written and I digest it, because it's really deep. I sense it. I mean, it's
And the story in the book illustrates it within the context of all the craziness that's going on around us with as I said, this AI and trans situation happening and all that, radicalization with religions, especially, let's say, the problem of Islam, which is increasing in the West, Islamization of society. And I don't say it like as a way of I hate Muslims. No, 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 no. I mean, some of the most beautiful people I ever met and my best friends are Muslims. It's not about that. It's about the way how radicalization and fundamentalism within that has space to manifest because of the whole climate within society as it is today. And that's what the book a little bit uses as a topic, especially because it's controversial.
What are the feedbacks that you get on this book?
I get a friend read a part of it, and she said, as a hotel owner, she said, I think judging by my experience with ratings of my hotel and reading your book, I thought you will get a lot of 5 stars and 1 stars, but not much in the middle, because it is quite radical in some ways. And from what I'm seeing now, well, yeah, I get some really people who are fascinated by the book, and I get people who are disgusted by the book. And in the middle, there's not much.
Then you touched on something, isn't it? When it's on the extremes.
I like that.
You like to poke, isn't it?
I like to poke, yeah. I like to provoke. I like to. And if people are dissatisfied, I can sit and I would very much like to hear what disturbed them. And on the other hand, I know that maybe they won't even be so willing to speak about it. Because sometimes the dissatisfaction doesn't come from what I wrote about not pointing at the right thing, but like people feeling I don't want that to be exposed,
to be discussed and so on, isn't it?
I don't want to be discussed. I'd rather hide from it. I'd rather not touch these things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
some of the very edgy stuff there for sure, isn't it? No, actually on the cover you can already feel how it's gonna be. And it's funny because you use the word love, and then it's something.
But there is also the word plagiarized in the title. Love 22 plagiarized.
Yeah.
And the point is
because of the.
Well, here I'm coming to the point of nowadays with the AI, it's very easy to find plagiarisms because even currently, if you write a paper, they can just pass it through the AI and they are, this is plagiarized.
Everything is copied or permutation of some kind, isn't it?
Exactly. But then you come to, I mean, how can I even not plagiarize? And if I wanna list where I got every single idea I write, like with every sentence, I will have to say, this is from this, and then it becomes unreadable because I will have 90% of the text will be just references, and 10% will be just the sheer text. So it becomes unreadable. That's where we ended up with all this AI situation that or learning language models, where we get this impossible situation where nothing can be really genuine anymore. And that's super frustrating. That makes me angry as well, because when I want to write original, then I have 2 choices. I have to fit within the cultural norms of my society, which are still postmodern, or I have to be somehow how to put it, culturally popular. And if I choose something that's not postmodern, fitting with the culture, with the elites, let's say, in the artistic world, or if I don't fit with the popular way how people digest cultural creations, then I'm just where do I stand? I did choose meta-modern approach, which is so there is a theory mostly accepted in the modern world that postmodernism there is there is an agreement almost that postmodernism is passé. It's not there anymore. I mean, it is there because nothing goes away, but there is a new era happening right now. It doesn't have a consistent name, and from me studying different papers about it and books, I like the most metamodernism as a term. It has a very broad and coherent body of let's say, philosophy that explains what's going on in the current society. And I like the way it interprets society, how it goes to taking the best from tradition, modernism, and postmodernism, and fighting against the bad in all three of them. So it has an overarching view on society, where modernism traditionally was against tradition. There was a clash between them. Postmodernism stands against modernism. There's a clash between them. And metamodernism is trying to say, let's not fight. Let's look at the traditional power of helping us survive. We can repeat the harvest every year. We can repeat the way of how we interact. There's some habits we build up that makes us survive for generations. So tradition has a value. But modernism says, okay, some traditions get ossified and they don't serve us anymore, and we have to move on. So modernism says we have to move on. We have to move on. But then we get atomic bomb, and we say, oops, how far can we go? And that postmodernism comes to criticize it and say, and to deconstruct the modernism as an approach, and saying, okay, there is good in modernism, but there is also so much bad.
You outlined so many of the modes, let's say, or styles. Okay, and I'm mostly familiar with the art and the architecture. You are in the literature and stuff. But let's be concrete and not go so intellectual, and say what in all of this mix, how do you stay original? To go back to the
So within, I'll start now from metamodernism because I already introduced it. So I have a very large scope, or let's put it this way. I can be comfortable within very technologically, intellectually, artistically complex situation, but I can also be very comfortable in the bush. I'm literate in very diverse space where most people are not. So this gives me a specific perspective on the world, which most people don't have. And I can see, therefore, I can use the postmodern approach of deconstructing the modern situation, but I can also, from this perspective, deconstruct the modern bushcrafts idealism, where let's go to nature, let's be wild and all that.
This is why actually I wanted you, because I like this about you, that you are on the very broad spectrum. And I remember now, last time somebody asked me the same thing about architecture, how to integrate, how do you do architecture today? And actually my answer was similar to yours. I like the stuff that it's rooted in history, traditional, vernacular architecture. But then what I would do, I would use AI. I would go to the future. I would try to envision what the future would be. And blending of those two is so interesting to me. And normally what I meet is the extremes, either futuristic, very cut out from the reality, let's say, from the nature, let's put it that way, or the other extreme. Let's go to just nature, don't do anything, or don't be very, very emboxed in something. And I like both worlds, actually. What about you? Which extreme do you find more compelling, or how do you place yourself?
Especially when you bring up architecture, I see, let's say, modernism brought hope and technology. You have Eiffel's Tower, you have skyscrapers in New York, we can go high. And then you get postmodernism with some very strange fusions of different styles in different ways. You get this glass front over the traditional building, which kind of doesn't blend well together, and so on, because you don't need to respect any. You want to deconstruct. You want to point out how all these values in our society are, especially power structures, are basically hurting us. So you want to point this out with postmodern, even architecture. And then with metamodernism, I think you can get fine, gentle blends between different aspects of tradition, modernism, and postmodernism. So you can be critical of power structures, of the vertical
high-rise buildings,
or power structures, and you can at the same time use them in certain situations because they point out at something. You don't need to be slave of a value of tradition or of either of them, and you can transcend this.
And it's hard to describe, but it was also for me hard to describe. I call it, let's say, being in a box, seeing very narrow view on something. And I think we are living at that times now, especially with the AI and with globalism, that we have the opportunity to be in that way. Before we couldn't. And how do you feel about
just to say this, like there is also a feel of how you nest something into space. So if I'm in pristine nature and I teleport a city building there, it just doesn't work well. You need to listen to what the shapes of nature tell you, and then maybe now with modern thinking I would put something like a hobbit house there, but I won't make it from concrete. I will make it with something different that fits it. I think metamodernism also points out that it's not only about shape and final form, it's also about the content, about the substance of it, which I hate nowadays. You build a concrete house, you put some stones on top and it looks like the same. No, it's not the same because you feel that there's no substance in it. It is just the face of it is kind of traditional, but you're cheating, you're lying. And I think metamodernism is saying, no, let's not lie. Let's not try to cheat. Let's not try to pretend. Postmodernism is pretense. It's all about being performative, how it looks. And metamodernism goes to, okay, let's make it integral.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard to explain, even for me in architecture, because it comes down to something which is probably undescribable. I follow a lot of, I like a lot of architects, and especially that I feel that are the good ones that have this, depth, let's say. And even they are, Pritzker Prize winners. They cannot explain it, And when I study this or when I look this and I compare things, I would see that it's hard to, it's something about feelings. You have to feel it, not think about it, because if we go about concrete buildings, one building can be concrete and the other can be, and normally I don't like concrete buildings, but there was one case, few cases, but one specific case with one architect, which I said, whoa, what is this? And then I started thinking, why this building, which is concrete, gives me such a pleasant feeling, And to come back to the point, I'm not stuck on the doctrine or something, that concrete is bad. Let's do with earth. No. This is already seeing in a specific, you box yourself. So now the question comes, how do you do things? How do you speak? How do you relate in a manner that it's true to the times, to the relationships, to the situations, without being stuck on either,
Have you heard about the term Reflexitarian?
No.
So I can use this to explain this position. In dietary preferences, you have so many choices nowadays, like with genders that we started with. So, and vegetarians and vegans, especially vegans, can be very aggressive, almost religious in their approach to how we should behave. You have ethical vegans, you have environmental vegans, and so on. This is like in Christianity, you have so many branches. That's vegetarianism, veganism has so many branches. So one of the newer branches is Reflexitarianism.
Okay.
It's not common. You won't even find it maybe online. I wrote something about it. Maybe you'll find it there. So it's where I reflect before I interact with food. And I'm not a slave of any ideological conviction or any even scientific conviction. There might be a situation where I will take a beefsteak, even though I'm predominantly vegetarian, because in that situation it's much more appropriate to take that. I will maybe even choose it over salad. You can understand it. So I'm not a slave of any position, but I give myself the permission to reflect on day-to-day, case-to-case basis, instead of having this rigid measuring tape where I'm dismissing some things just on the basis. And I went very far. I ate worms, I ate insects, I ate in China all kinds of stuff like a frog soup with all. I ate whatever my tradition says. Oh no, you shouldn't eat that. It's culturally inappropriate. And I said, no, I'm gonna try to see what it is, just to break my dogma. And then I free myself to be a reflexitarian. I'm still mostly vegetarian. Why? Not because I'm...
Because you feel something about...
It's because I've been vegetarian for so many years, and that's how I feel good about it. And then I will occasionally eat something that's not within the parameters of that dietary requirement. So I'm a reflexitarian.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm probably in the same way concerning the food. And what I see, especially with my kid, you know, they're much more natural. I mean, I learn from I can learn. Let's be very cautious here. I can learn if I don't force him into something. And what happens is very funny because, you know, normally we want that our kids eat diverse and they eat everything, you know. But what happens is if I just pause a bit and don't force him, I see that some days he eats, you know, he would eat some just vegetables. And then the other day he would just eat meat. So it is his preferred choice, which is probably natural, you know, and to expose him to diverse things and not push onto him some kind of mode allows probably him naturally to choose what is in front of him. And it's so nice to see. Actually, if you put yourself to extreme, if you would go to desert, let's say, and you are a vegetarian, what choices would you have, isn't it?
Yeah, and I use this just as an example, reflexitarianism. You can then use it for any other kind of behaviors, or the way I think, the way my attitudes to religion, my attitudes to...
That's it.
I can, like, we could take from let's say from Islam attitudes to alcohol or to drugs or something.
Yeah.
Like, we can take from Christianity something, and we can take, but then the problem becomes, because I'm not adhering to one tradition, and then it becomes complicated fusing, especially if we fuse it in a postmodern way or modern way, where we get some kind of monstrosity, let's say.
Yeah.
While when we can transcend whatever we had thus far and go to meta perspective, then we can create something of quality from that perspective of reflexi, blah blah.
Yeah. It's actually, you described it very well, because to come to my point about architecture, this is the same way. So it doesn't actually, it's a principle which is much more broader than just concerning the food. It's actually a concept, way of how you approach life, let's say.
But you have to force yourself almost, or allow yourself sometimes, to have this breadth that allows you the perspective from which you can take that point of view, where you can make those choices.
Yeah.
And if you stay in a very narrow-minded session, you cannot do that. You will be just seeing the way your church is built, and you want everything built in that way, or your parents' house or your grandfather's house. If you go to architecture, you will try to just emulate some traditions that you are conditioned into. That your dogma will be.
Yeah, you know, I kid a lot when talking about architecture and how I approach it nowadays. And I say, I used to think that my house from the childhood is the most beautiful house. But then everything else happened, you know. And what happened is, okay, one is studies, and we had also professor, which was in that way. I will tell you an anecdote which really struck me when I was studying. We had to enlist to go on a trip. Okay, it was a study trip normally, once a year in the architecture, and there came a point. It was 1 year when almost nobody enlisted. And he was like really shocked, and he wrote a mail to everybody, and I can still vividly remember that mail. He said, if you're gonna stay on the faculty and learn within the faculty, you're not gonna come far. You have to travel the world. And he said, you travel either by car, by bus, by plane, or with a horse. I don't mind. You just do. Just travel, and this will broaden your horizon. And after that mail, almost everybody enlisted.
Wow, it's a good point.
Yeah.
The journeyman, you know the journeyman, the craftsman, mostly from Germany, who learn their craft and then they have to travel and practice their craft in many different contexts in order to learn it in those contexts. And here with architecture, I just have to say this because it's so in my mind.
Tell me,
how your environment is supposed to shape you, and then you shape your home, your closest environment. I really loved homes in the Ganges Delta, talking about traveling, where what used to happen in the past was flooding. Every so many years, the floods came and took away the homes. But they brought new fertile mud, which people just scooped
and put it on the...
built the home and used the straw to cover the roof and kept it smooth and nice with using cow dung as a connecting tissue. So it's somehow, the environment shapes me with my interaction with it, how I grow my food and all that. And it creates my home for me by bringing materials which I used to build the home. And later, the government came and built these ugly brick buildings, supposedly better. And when these buildings are taken away by the floods or damaged, it's very hard to rebuild them. And people even lost the knowledge how to rebuild them. And it creates a lose-lose situation, essentially, for them. I've seen it also in Africa. Tribes were living in very simple huts, which they built from leaves and branches, which were there around them. Government said, no, this is not good. They built them square brick buildings and said, this is where you have to move. And people didn't like it living in there. They actually built behind it their own traditional hut and lived in it. And this was just for government to feel good that they contributed something to the people. And somehow, to go to architecture, I think if we understand what nature brings us, and then we somehow interact with it and live in interaction with it, then our homes will be very organic. And if we don't do that, if we are detached from it, then our homes will be also detached from it. And I'm not saying we can go to, we cannot go back to scooping mud and building a house. I'm not saying that architecture has to go with time and with technology and with AI and all that, but it's just to have it somehow as a sense.
This is what I actually talked about with the girl, and we will talk more, because this is the interesting now question comes, isn't it? How do we integrate both of the worlds? Which is, we cannot do like the same as we did in past times. So the question comes, what's the mode of being of a modern man, let's say, of a modern human?
What made you feel good in that concrete building? That's what I'm talking about. The architect must have tapped into something that's primal. It connects you with that space. It somehow, it must contain something about the vernacular of something. And even though it's in a material that maybe you wouldn't say it's possible, but it is possible.
It's not sustainable. It's not anything. That's my point. That's why I don't like to participate in a conversation when people approach it from the extreme and they say, let's forget about art. Let's don't do it in concrete, or the other spectrum. Let's just do the buildings in mud and in earth, which is popular today. No, I like to go beyond and see, to your point, what is actually behind that. What touched me, and really striking things come up.
So you're essentially a reflexitect.
This is what I wanted to say, but I didn't.
Like
you are good in wording, so maybe that's
reflexitecture.
yeah, which is in today's academic sphere, you say contextualism, but I don't want to go intellectually in that road, because I like to stay down to earth. It's much more concrete when we speak in that manner with examples. I just been in one tower. I will stay courteous. I won't mention it. Yeah. But the point was that it's a high tower made of concrete, and it costs like millions. Okay, and we with my family, we wanted to see to have an experience, and I went up and I went down, and I said, I said to my wife, you know what we could do with millions that were spent on that tower? We could do with the chimney that is in Târboviște, wherever it is, actually the highest, we could do something there with much less money, and it would be so much greater experience, so better. And it left me so empty, but on the other side, it inspired me, because I sensed, I was completely empty. But the tower, the meaning or the purpose of it was to uplift you, to give you something, but the placement of it, I could go to the details what actually was wrong with it, because I study architecture and I know the specifics, what were wrong about the placement, the materials, the how it was micro-located in a valley. It's so many things were wrong, I noticed later, which resulted in that kind of feeling. And if you're not reflecting, if people normally don't, especially if they are not architects and so on, they don't see this, they don't sense this, but consciously. But unconsciously, for sure, they get an experience, or at least they get a reference for what it is, what the buildings could be, should be. And if it is a bad reference, or if it is a reference, let's not judge it. Let's say that it's, let's say, negative to the environment, to the relations, and so on. Then you are stuck with that notion, which is not uplifting to me, and it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's where my anger actually is rooted in, with all this brutalism.
Now we come to
the end of it. My friend once was tuning an instrument very finely with strings and like really checking to be super finely tuned. And I looked at him and said, I mean, do you really need to like spend so much time? We won't hear the difference. Yet he says, your soul will hear the difference. I was so struck by what he said, because I felt, oh my God, it's the same. Music and architecture have a lot in common, harmony and all that. And I felt, oh my God, when I'm in certain spaces, when I feel this, so my soul feels the disharmony of space.
That's exactly what I like to tackle.
And then we get angry, but we don't express it, because we feel, why isn't anybody else angry? Because they're just like dialing it down, because they you have to do it. You have to dial yourself down in order to
and
keep
maybe
living.
Concerning the literature, I couldn't explain maybe what maybe I could, or let's say, but probably I couldn't to the level that you could, explain what is wrong with the book or with the text. But I feel it. I feel it, and that's enough. I could explain it with architecture, with material world, a lot. You couldn't maybe, but it doesn't matter, because you feel it still.
But then you know what I do in my book, for example? I do these things on purpose.
I know. That's the reason
why I disturb you.
Yeah.
To disturb you.
Yeah.
And you will feel angry.
To put it in your face, isn't it?
What is this? This is BS, what he's writing. And I'm saying, yeah, exactly. I want to provoke you. I want you to see that and to be in your face. And I want you to disrespect me, to hate me.
No, to be honest, this is the reason why I asked you what were the people's reactions, because I noticed that they must be polarized because of that, Because if you would cover the middle, it would probably be like a general book, normal book. But tell me, what was your creative process? Did you specifically wanted to tackle that, or was your just creative need, or how did you came to the?
Well, I knew that it will come out provocative, just because that's how I am. And I knew that I have a limit of how good I can write, especially with fiction. And I had to play between these two things, where I have to blur the line of where my genius can manifest, where I know that I'm good, and I can use my weaknesses also on the other side to point at something where people can see their own. I can agitate people with my weaknesses in some way. I also plagiarized, so to say, copied some passages from some other texts, from Islam, from Buddhism, from all kinds of traditions, from Christianity as well. I copied a lot from transition and detransition movements, their ways of argument from the modern hysteria in the society. So there's a lot of that expressed in my own words, of course. I didn't just copy-paste it. And when I was patching it together, I had to make sure that it's connected in a seamless way.
In an original way, isn't it?
In an original way,
yeah.
But I used a very bland, very simple first-person linear story that takes 1 year. I used James Joyce's Ulysses as a little bit of a framework, because he's a modernist author and I'm a meta-modernist author. He uses 1 day. There is a 10-year Odyssey in the background, but in my case it's 1 year. There is a lot of religious, Christian and Islamic symbolism within it. So I put it all together, fused it into first-person story where you don't really know that all this is packed in. So you can just read it as a story, a very simple one. But for example, I'll just give you one example from a story that connects to Islamic eschatology. Eschatology is the how we explain the end of times. So in the beginning of the book, I break a cross wrench when I'm trying to change my tire. And it breaks. So I'm like very angry about it. Later on in the book, it gets fixed. So in the Islamic eschatology, there's a moment, there is a theme of Jesus coming back, or Isa coming back to break the cross. So if you see Islamic terrorists anywhere attacking a church, they will break crosses because they want to help in this process of the end times coming, because they believe in it. So I break the cross. So I am Jesus in the book, so to say, or the character Nara is Jesus. The difference is that the cross gets fixed, which is a way of reconciling with our past, like looking at what went wrong, but not just leaving it at that and brushing it off the table. There is a lot in our traditions that
try to reconstruct something.
Yes, it's not deconstructing, it's reconstructing. So that's one example of how I use a symbol and how I upgrade it into it's very seamless. You don't really know. You won't notice it.
Yeah, that's the genius of your writing, probably.
I
because
have to explain
if I would,
you would know. You would know.
Yeah. That's nice. That's nice that we talk about this, because I do the same in architecture. I don't want that you notice how the concrete was built, maybe, or anything. You know how space is, but I want that you feel the effect. Or this is what pleasures me to do, and probably you writing, shaping it, it gave you.
But you know what? I just gave my book to a famous, well-known old Slovenian writer who works with the drama, with theater a lot. And he went through the table of contents, and he saw Marlowe. You know whose surname that is?
Marlowe.
Yeah, most people don't know. He's a contemporary of Shakespeare.
Okay.
And some people thought that he was actually the writer of Shakespeare's dramas. Okay. So Marlowe hints at plagiarism in the story, and the Marlowe is actually the name of the character in the book who actually then engages in plagiarisms.
Now you're giving it up a bit.
I'm telling some stories. So there's a lot of these encoded things where if you are able to notice which this person who I'm talking about, this writer, he immediately noticed. We talked about it. So all this that I said about my writing and its symbolisms and all that I copied from James Joyce a little bit. But he said that he wrote a book that could be for centuries studied and interpreted because he left so many
you're trying to say one word, which I really like, timeless, that it would be timeless.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do what he did, because he experimented with modernism back then. I'm experimenting with metamodernism, and it has to be more simple, more plain, more, there's traditional thing, traditional storytelling there. There is some modernism, and there's also postmodernism. All these three are there. It's not so modern like in his case. And I don't imagine I can be such a genius like he was. Because when you read his writing, he's, I don't know, in those times people read so much. They were well versed in the philosophy and languages. Maybe I am above average in some ways, but I cannot compare with that kind of.
Now it struck me. Tell me,
writer.
If you compare yourself to James or Joyce or the greatest, okay? How do you see yourself?
Well, if I look, for example, at somebody who I very much appreciate in modern times, okay, no, I forgot his name, of course. Anyway, this escaped me. I had him like a second ago.
Actually,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But there are people who are so who connect so many ideas, have such a good overview of history, and they can just call it in a moment. I have a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as certain authors.
So you're very critical, and you see that.
I'm self-critical. I'm super self-critical of myself. At the same time, I know I have I've been memorizing quotes and ideas since I was 18. So I have very good memory from practicing it. And still, I know there's a lot of more room for improvement. So I would like to get better in that. And at the same time, I know where my limit is and how far I really want to go in being that.
What would be your ideal? Where do you see yourself, concerning writing?
I've hit the best I can do, I think, for now. I don't want to go into being too professional with it, because I want to keep my scope. I want to have my engagements, digging in the garden, building houses on my own from dry stone. I want to do some gardening. I want to do, I want to have all that in my life. And if I do that, then I cannot specialize so much like other people do. That's the limits of it. But then it informed my writing, so I can express that in the way how I write.
Yeah, it influences your work because you're much more, let's say, rooted in the normal way of living or in the mundane stuff.
Let's say. But I limit my professional, the amount of my brain where I can be really in these fantasy spaces is not so massive. So I cannot do that. So my work, I know, will be more patchwork, much more realistic in some ways than what other people. My characters cannot be as deep and as complex as a professional writer can make them, where they really, really like go and delve into those spaces. Their brain is like that. My brain is not like that. My brain is used for other things, and I know where my limit is, and I know that is actually a meta-modern practice where I do what I'm not good at.
Again,
in order to challenge myself, and I bring all other qualities into that where I'm not that good, and that makes it special.
Then you are authentic, which is what you are actually. That's I think the essence of you from the times that I know.
And then I'm not. But I can be also performative. I can act, and that's fine. Because I don't believe in the concept of I remove all the masks and then you're pristine.
What would that actually mean? I don't know. Exactly. What would that mean? How do you remove all your masks?
You cannot.
What is behind the mask? The void? No, what?
V for Vendetta. Just what is behind the mask? So I have to wear a mask that's appropriate for the situation. And it's just that it's not the masks that are choosing me, it's me that chooses the mask. And I'm kind of in control as much as I can be. And I mean, I could be here naked or just in my tongs or something, just to create a message. but then maybe our conversation would be completely different.
For sure.
It didn't seem appropriate now, and maybe next time.
We communicate with everything, isn't it? With our clothes, with our mode of being. And now it struck me what I want to touch with you actually, because when we communicated, when I invited you, it was actually kind of a surprise for me, because you mentioned that you lost your mother, and it touched me, and I couldn't let the thought go. It affected me in some deep way. Probably you can sense why, because I also lost my mother when I was very young, at the age of 6, and then shortly after I lost my father. And you know, I couldn't ignore the elephant in the room from all of those days that we were planning to meet. And I had to. Just yesterday I was thinking, what should I ask you? And I said, no, let's talk about death. Let's talk about death. And if you're not comfortable to talk about, because maybe it still be fresh for you, but it really affected me how you told me about your mother. And yeah, let's talk about death.
Death is, for me personally, first, it's something I used to be very peaceful about and very calm and very accepting. With my mom, it was not so much the death, but there was circumstances and the way it all happened that actually shocked me intensely and just left me sad. I don't know even how to. It's just 3 weeks ago, so I still haven't composed myself back together fully. But it was, it was quite shocking. But then on the other level, I see that outside of traditional values of Christianity or any kind of religion. So it's a bit. I'm also not like an atheist or agnostic or whatever. I'm something. I don't know how to frame it. But then I will go to metamodernism back, just as a way of bridging all this, where you had fear of death in tradition. You have modernism. We can surpass that with technology. Postmodernism gets cynical about it, and it says, let's just enjoy life. There is a term in postmodernism used, it's called jouissance, like jouissance. It's juicy, you know. Even in death, you should enjoy. Even we can destroy everything. We can just wreck the world.
And you try to say that it's superficial.
Yeah, it's superficial. It's kind of way, I'm trying to be obsessed with life and deny that almost. But actually there is obsession with death in the background. And you get even creation, art and architecture and everything, it's somehow morbid. There's something morbid about whatever comes from this postmodern era. And metamodernism does a step in the opposite direction. It really faces death.
That's the reason why I wanted to ask you, because a lot of times we try to avoid it, and don't talk about it. And this was also in my case, because I was so young, and the let's say the environment didn't talk about it, and this is actually what made death harder than itself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So to come to back to your feeling, to your thought, actually the circumstances were what made it actually much harder than it is.
It's that is there. It used to be a part of life. Children were dying, parents were dying,
and we saw that much more than we did.
It was much more. Now it's removed again into some kind of packaging, some special institution. There is a special packaging for everything, and also then packaging for the funeral, packaging for. It used to be much more integrated in our everyday life, and anyway, I just felt with the death of my mother, I had to really be with it and it's not so easy. You want to escape. You want to do something that kind of dulls it down, that makes you not be present with your emotions and all that. And or to say, oh, I have to be strong. You follow some cultural value. But why do I? I mean, I don't need to be strong. I can be weak at this moment, and I can ask for help and talk with friends who can give me some solace in a way that's not just putting a bandage over my wound, but let's open the wound, let's look at it, let's see, let's go for the thorn, let's go for something deep inside. That's why I I went very intensely and deeply into it right away, and then I can come back out quite soon, and I don't have to feel guilty again, because people will be like, "Aren't you sad about your mom?" I mean, I cried my eyes out. And I expressed my emotion fully because it was there, and now I can leave it in the past. I don't need to do that again. And if it happens that I cry again, I will allow it. I won't suffer, like I won't suppress it. But I don't need to just put this mask on because my society expects me to do it. So I think this genuine facing death and talking about it is where we can also support our society to move beyond to this, let's say, meta perspective where I think we need to go.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's the reason why I brought it up, because it was so, as I said, elephant in the room, and it's so obvious, and not to think about it, not to talk about it. It's just so, it doesn't, especially in those situations, it doesn't make sense. And I learned this the hard way, or life taught me the hard way.
You didn't choose that. You couldn't choose that.
It's so how you actually deal with it, and how you support the people around.
In my book, there's a lot of talk about death as well, and there's dying. Maybe you noticed even in modern literature, there's a lot of death. This is metamodernism coming in, where the authors are killing left and right the favorite characters that people get attached to. Maybe even teaches about facing death through the art, where we should have catharsis through art around those issues, not avoid or not to be cynical about it.
You know what? I just remembered what it showed me, or what I learned from it, that I'm much more acceptable with it, or I'm much more, I see it much more than I probably would, and I will tell you why. To tell you one story, when I was living in the house in the woods, which you know, there was one specific situation when, where I was living, it became calm, and we were living there for a lot of weeks, months, and me being just there observing the nature, I observed one butterfly on grass, and it was so nice to see. It made me so happy. I was, seeing it, how he played around and so on. But then something striking happened. Just in front of me, the wasp came, sat on him. The wasp grabbed him. Let's say she killed him. She cut off his wings, cut off his head, and cut off his back, and then just grabbed the body and flew away. And I followed it a bit, and she left it somewhere, and then she came back and then flew away, and flew with him away. And this touched me so profoundly, to the same level as my mother's death. This very act that I was seeing. And from then on, but not just from then on, I see, when I step on ant, I feel the same. So this is the reason when I when I say that it's all around and I feel it, and I'm kind of like grateful for that, because it's part of life, and I don't shut it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that if you cannot kill, you shouldn't eat meat. Because, you have to be in touch with this fact of life, that it takes death for the wasp to feed its larva or
necessity.
There is some death happening in any case. Even for vegetarians, it would be good to go somewhere to the garden and to do the work, and to see that you have to kill something to grow this. Then you're much more you're not hermetically enclosed in this packaging of our society, where you're detached from where your sustenance comes from. You should go also to some construction ground and to build a house, to see how it's done, to understand the background, not just take your flat for granted. And, all these things, there is death to build this house. There was whatever we do, we leave a trail of death behind us. And when my mom dies, I'm much more connected to it and much more see how the world functions. I don't like unnecessary death. I really hate it. On the other hand, even in my essay, I have a very provocative question with dignity. Sometimes, in order to preserve the dignity of somebody, I might have to hurt them, sometimes even kill them. This might seem so like,
no, it
how
doesn't.
can you say that?
I completely get it.
But
I get it.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
I wouldn't advocate for it, especially not because...
And it's hard to... We have to be really careful how we talk about this, because it can, someone can take the words and what are you saying? But you have to feel what the depth of the wording, what you just said, and it's... I got the point. Yeah.
So that is such a complex thing, and if we don't talk about it, if we take it from black and white value system, then, and what does, when you ask me what do you mean by dignity, then we have to first get to the terms with that. What is
this
dignity
is the reason why I like to stay pragmatic, because I know you are very intellectual, and this is what I like about you. You are so much more than I'm much more than I am. I am the same way, but just in the material wise, you know. So we are in the same manner, just on the opposite, let's say, spectrum. But this is what I liked, and also wanted to go deeper. Let's say, not just to stay on the intellectual level and say what is dignity. No, but what do we really mean with it?
Well, I expect a conversation like this with you, because I didn't think we would go into ideological positions and just compare them and like blah, 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 blah. The point is, let's leave this, let's park this, and let's look at the essences of things, or something that's more fluid underneath, and but you don't need, you can be reflexy, whatever, and then you can flow and take different positions without losing yourself in the process. Because with the society we live in, quite often people feel, if I don't stand here, then I'm lost. I don't have.
And it's like a cramp, like a
And at the same time, I understand it, and I feel that if we in society don't have this for majority of people, then people are not able to flow. So I will say that multiculturalism, for that purpose, for that reason, doesn't really function well. You need to have a dominant cultural identity in space. If you have a cacophony of cultural expressions, you will ultimately get the most aggressive one dominating in the end. You won't get the one that has highest qualities. Let's say you will have the most dominant one. And that's why I mentioned Islam, because Islam is very dominant and quite aggressive as a tradition. And if it comes very strongly in Europe, it will very likely be the dominant tradition in the future. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. I'm not judging it as a way of saying, it's worse or better. I'm just noticing that there are certain qualities within it where Christian background of Western world might be allowing in something that will surpass it and change the identity of the Western world. And where that will lead, I don't know.
Nobody knows. Yeah.
If I want to say, we will get Afghanistan in Europe. I'm not saying that at all. Maybe we'll have like even more enlightened Muslims in 2 decades because something will happen. It would be stupid for me to say, no, everybody will be walking around in burqas and we'll have Saudi Arabia in France.
So the future for you is what? A pessimist, optimist, or a realist?
I'm just observing. I cannot impact it. It's just too big a thing. It's an organism in its own, the whole civilization, and it's not like I can just. I cannot predict.
Are you like in in the mode of the? It will come to me. Not Anthony de Mello, one of your favorites, but the comic. Help me. The
George Carlin.
Yeah, I know you know it.
Yeah,
you know what was his?
I
just gave up on the civilization. Now I'm in front of your row, and I'm just taking. Ooh, you said this. Ooh, oh wow. Oh, tell me more. You're just.
Yeah. I have a little bit of that. Yeah. I mean,
I know you have. That's the reason why I'm talking.
I have an eagerness to change things. It's not like I'm sitting passively and observing. I'm interacting with society in a way where I am influencing it. I'm not just a passive observer.
Yeah.
I have this thing in my mind when the Holocaust Museum, the statement there, don't be a perpetrator, don't be a victim, but by no means don't be a bystander. So I don't want to be a bystander. I don't want to be a perpetrator. I don't want to be a victim. But bystander is, I think, the worst. So when I notice something, I'll talk about it. So in my essay that we mentioned about feminism, I wasn't a bystander. I spoke. I said things which I thought were wrong. It created an explosion and chaos. But at least I kept my integrity. And I think that I also supported the integrity of many people in the process.
How do you deal with criticism? Because I know you changed a bit in that manner as I followed you during these years, especially with the vaccines and so on. How do you deal with the criticism or from the...
You mean when others criticize me?
Yeah, when you feel you do something because of the reasons you outlined, and then it's like it hits you from the back or from the side, from the society.
I'm an empath. So I cannot not be affected by strong emotions of other people. So I'm just allowing it to happen. So I'm heartbroken, I'm stricken, I'm like, I'm wounded and all that. And then it's just how I direct that energy into something creative instead of something destructive. So I'm just using it like, no. And I just go deep into studying, or I look for people and talk. I engage.
So you use it in a positive way?
Exactly. I use it, I try at least. Use it in a positive way, not to allow myself to be defeated, but to use the energy that's, Aikido principle.
Yeah, I know.
You strike me and I use your strength against you, but it still hurts when you hit me. but I try to...
Yeah, you do something with it. Yeah.
That's how I deal with it.
Yeah.
And since I'm exposing myself around touchy and sensitive issues, I'm expecting to be
hit. Yeah, that was my point, because you do this as your natural flow, so you need to expect this, isn't it? If you go to the ring,
but
you need to expect it.
People kind of almost expect this from me, so I don't get so much backlash as I might expect. So it's a bit...
It's maybe you are in a bit of advantage here, or your privilege. Maybe this is the way you became, because now people know you, But in today's culture, isn't it, when somebody starts or it's young, it's the fear is much greater than yours. You're used to the punches, let's say.
Yeah, it's I can understand completely young people
you've
who
been
just
there, probably.
shrink back or go back. They don't want to provoke anything because it's just too much. And I can understand fully why people just shut down. They're just bystanders. They're often victims. They often even join as perpetrators in different situations because they don't have a choice.
I see also this,
Yeah, so in a war, for example, Ukraine, Russia, or especially Palestine, Israel, where there's such an religious ideas are battling and fighting. How do you make sense? How do you not become a victim or a perpetrator in this situation? You're drawn to it, or you are just a bystander because you're clueless. How do I even speak?
I completely get it. What do you
Palestinians are dying. How can I not be on their side? Israelis, they're just squeezed there between Muslim nations, so I should be on their side. I could, because they're fighting. They're playing dirty now. I mean, everybody's playing dirty in war. And then you can relativize. You can just end up in an endless inner dialogue, or go in a dialogue with other people, and it becomes like. And we have so many situations like this in the world. I started with feminism, with what is a woman and all that. But it's funny, it's interesting how it manifests in so many fields.
And you don't actually need to go far, because you can sense this in our relationships. I always tell this as a principle, as an example. You know, we are talking, and if we fall into emotional baggage and stuff, how come can you then expect on the larger, the collective level, that nations won't clash if we cannot, you know, be in that mode that we wish for others to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, I'm disappointed by, 50 years.
Now from anger came the disappointment.
No, disappointment and anger are connected very closely.
I know.
30 years after I graduated, I feel like, my gosh, I thought we would learn. I was so optimistic. We're learning as a society, we're developing, we're how do we not learn? Why? Some people are using what would a God do in this situation? What would a God say? And some people are kidding, and they're saying, what would Christopher Hitchens say?
in that sphere of Muslim
exactly.
and religious,
whatever political situation, Donald Trump, whatever,
because
war
he
in
was
Russia,
so edgy,
because he was so like,
he didn't mind.
He just didn't care. He would just say, what a incredibly stupid question to a person who asked it. He was so, I don't know. That's why I sometimes feel we need somebody to just take the knife, sharp like this Japanese super knife, and just cut through this BS. And just say, look, this is what's going on. And I don't think God would do that, but Christopher Hitchens I think would, and that's why I'm kind of.
You're a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him because of that uncompromising.
Yeah, but something.
And even if he was wrong, if he opened it and said, "Oh, I was wrong," it would still be useful that somebody cut through that.
Yeah. These are the provokers, let's say, in the culture, and probably you are also in that manner.
I am in that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not so much in that way, or I am, but in a different mode. Not so straightforward. Let's say, Yeah, and this is probably the way you are. You cannot to be disingenuous is probably not the way.
You have to be alone for that, because there's people around me who can get hurt from just if you see somebody get hurt, you empathize with them, and if people close to me, that's why true. I don't wonder that I'm a solitary person and hovering around the world like the way I do. Maybe it's for the best. I was feeling sorry about me not having like a relationship and family and all that. I learned later maybe it's for the best. I just had to.
Did you probably did reflect on these things a lot? How they would change you, if you had a kid, because I can speak from my area, but
exactly. Well, you create your environment. Environment creates you back. You create your environment, it shapes you back. You can go back to the mud house, or you can go to your flat where you live, and you create it by your image. And that image of the flat reflects back to you. And then the child comes in and creates another like unpredictable stuff which shapes you. And you cannot avoid it.
You cannot.
And then how you shape the child back. And
That was my question, because
But I'm a very moldable or
plastic.
Plastic. plasticine.
Plastilin, or
I think it's plasticine in English or something like that.
Is it? It's not the dough.
Doesn't matter.
Dough. No, dough.
Dough is also good.
Yeah.
I'm a moldable person, so when I'm interacting,
Play-Doh,
yeah,
Play-Doh, in a Play-Doh manner.
Play-Doh manner. So when I'm interacting with other people, I allow myself to be shaped by my experience. I'm not afraid of getting lost or that some part of my identity is going to be destroyed. I'm like, oh my God, this is a new experience. Oh, this is a new Nara.
You see, this why these questions from the start are interesting, because I got, or some people say, what's your biggest fear? To lose myself. What was your
I don't remember.
You don't remember. We will see later. We will check later. But I felt that it was interesting, but I didn't want to go there.
I just.
But for sure, it wasn't that. That's my point. It's sure isn't that you would lose yourself, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Because you lose yourself probably on a daily
Every
basis.
minute.
That's your mode.
Well, I'm a river. I'm not a pillar or something. So that's why I'm flowing, and this flow shapes me and creates me. And
that's a nice analogy.
I was a stream in a spray in my youth. Now I'm a mature river, and I have to adapt to the flow. And when I come to my delta, I have to allow myself to be spread out.
Yeah. What is the future for you? Ocean.
Ocean.
You'll just be.
Well, there is something that stays as a part of a river being, and
some residue of the flow of the.
There's something eternal in that flow part.
No, I like that analogy about you. This is the.
But still, when it's gone, when the physical thing and there will be something continuing in some way.
It's not the fly. You said it's a fly is your totem, let's say, or not the totem. No, I would go with the river. This is how I would now remember you. It's a river.
Yeah, I'm a river.
Yeah,
but I'm also a fly, and I'm also a butterfly that's eaten by the wasp, and I'm also the. I think we all are a bit of. But when you said how you empathize or how you feel the end, that's somehow what I would like to see us humans evolve into, where we are not seeing us as separate from life. We are one unit of life within, some could call it Gaia or global ecosystem or whatever, Earth, blah blah. We're just a part of it, and we are interconnected with it, and there is some kind of stewardship that's because of our intellectual cognitive capacities. We have the stewardship role in the system, and we can use our abilities to support everything.
This is how I actually felt about that situation, because I was very happy at first to see the butterfly, but then I was very sad, and I saw that none of those modes are the modes that you should stay in no matter what, because it's a part of a whole.
But then it's learning. You don't interfere in that situation, but there will be situations when you do. And then you have to measure when you do and when you don't. And why and how. And admitting mistakes.
Now I recall another situation. We had like a lot of cats at my place back home. And when I would come with a car, especially in those kind of cold days, the cats would sit in close to the engine, and speaking about what you do in certain situations, it happened to me one day that the cat sat on the tire, and I started my engine really fast, and then I just pulled back, and then I ran it over. And I immediately knew what was happening. I stepped out of the car, and I saw, let's say, her, the cat, she was really like, how to describe it, not to describe it in some other, let's say like this. The tire went over her head, okay? and the nerves were still doing their stuff. And what I'm coming to is what my response was. To my surprise, actually, I wanted to go and put her out of misery, you know. So what I would probably do if I had time, I would go and do something to her to end her misery. I didn't, because it was already in a few seconds. It was over. Luckily for me, but this shocked me. What I saw in me, I thought I wouldn't do in a wasp situation. I just was observant there. But in that situation, I was inclined to act, and it was complete surprise for me. It was instinctive, but complete surprise.
Yeah, the closer the animal, like when my mom was dying, she was I didn't know she was dying. She was very weak, and then I'm just there. How do I react? How do I interfere? What do I do? And there's a split, then when she's really bad, and I'm like, gosh, I would rather end her misery than to see her continue like this. But I see she wants to continue, and then it's like,
yeah.
And then for me, that was this difficult inner dilemma of even coming to terms with my emotions and feelings and how I reacted. I don't know. Then maybe projecting on myself. If I'm ever in this situation, just end my misery. I just don't want to.
And what was your inclination? To just be there with her?
Yeah, I mean, my inclination was to be there with her. On the other hand, I'm clueless what to do. I'm powerless. Yeah. What can I can just sit there and watch.
Yeah.
And I'm just feel super bad about everything. And then I can move away, but then I'm even more worried because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's just double bind again.
This happened with my father, actually, because I was much older. I couldn't face it.
So you were moving away.
Yeah, I saw the situation, but then I just ran. I couldn't face it.
For me, the biggest issue was because I was with my mom 2 months before. And if I was much more assertive, I might have maybe dragged her to hospital without her will. But then there's this thing, but then I would do something without her will. And how can I know that it would help? And
all of these questions, isn't
questions,
it?
Oh my God, we have to live with it then later. And I have to not be guilty, feel guilty. Although guilt is just natural in some way. And what to do about it?
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand because you had your situation, I had mine, but I completely get what you mean, because all of these questions arise probably because of the fear still of facing our aspects of ourselves. But maybe we shouldn't end on this note. No?
Yes, people die, people move on, and we have to move on.
And today, actually, with death, that's nice. We should end with death, like end of this video. No, and conversation.
Just don't die. Just don't die now.
Wouldn't that be a sight?
Or me, like.
No. No. What I thought is that today's
that would be performative. I just took out the gun and I just shot myself. This was my last interview.
No, don't go there. The Joker stuff. No. What I thought is that today is what is today's day?
Today is the last day of winter or first day of spring.
So it's actually death, where the death and the birth meet.
Exactly.
And this is.
And I'm very optimistic about future, and I want us to think about future and create a positive future for ourselves and for the world. And I think we have all the tools and our equipment, emotional and intellectual and all, whatever you want to call it, allows us social as well, it's technological, to make the future good for everyone.
Positive, positive, move into positive aspects.
Without cynicism, without naivety, but just realistically we can do better.
That's a good note to end on. Thank you, Nara. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. It was really awesome.
Yeah, for me too. For me too. Yeah.